The sun had barely crested the jagged mountains when Jake Callahan, a rugged man with a weathered face and hands scarred from decades of hard work, rode slowly into the small clearing that served as his home. His life had always been simple, solitary, and steady. Days spent tending to his cattle, nights under the open sky, the wind whispering secrets he pretended not to hear. He had long ago learned to cherish silence over conversation, to trust the strength of his own two hands rather than rely on anyone else. His daughters, Emily and Clara, were the closest he had to family, and while they were his pride and joy, they had always lived on the edge of adulthood, yearning for adventure, for something that broke the monotony of ranch life. Jake had accepted this, knowing that the heart of a Callahan woman was untamed, free as the horses that ran across his land. He was preparing the horses for the day, brushing down their coats, checking the fences, when he noticed movement along the tree line. His heart, used to the rhythm of quiet mornings, skipped. Two figures emerged, and behind them walked someone he had never seen before, a woman whose presence commanded attention without a single word. She was tall and graceful, with skin kissed by the sun, her eyes dark and deep as the forest shadows, and her long black hair framed a face both fierce and gentle. Jake's breath caught, though he tried to dismiss it as the wind playing tricks. It was only when Emily and Clara ran forward, calling out to him with laughter and mischief in their voices, that he understood they had brought someone home. The girls' laughter faded into a nervous hush as they introduced her. "Dad, this is Aylin," Emily said, her voice trembling slightly with excitement and uncertainty. Jake blinked, studying the woman before him. Aylin nodded politely, her posture dignified yet relaxed, an air of quiet strength surrounding her. There was something in her eyes, an ancient wisdom, a story untold that made Jake's heart tighten in a way he hadn't felt in years. He wasn't sure if it was fear, awe, or something altogether different. "You brought her here?" he finally asked, his voice gruff but curious. Emily and Clara nodded almost in unison. She helped us last month," Clara said softly. "When the cattle went missing, she tracked them through the hills and brought them back. She's incredible, Dad." Jake studied Aylin again, and the weight of his solitude pressed against him, heavier than ever before. He had lived through years of loneliness, proud in his independence, yet in that instant, he realized how hollow his world had become without companionship, without the presence of someone who could not only walk beside him, but challenge him, teach him, perhaps even heal a part of him he didn't know existed. Aylin's eyes met his, steady and unflinching, and for a moment the wind stilled. He found himself unable to look away, feeling a pull so strong it unsettled him. It was not just beauty that held him. It was the undeniable spirit of someone who had lived life fully, who knew the land and its secrets, who could survive hardships that would break most men. Jake's daughters whispered among themselves, their eyes darting between him and Aylin, wondering what their father would say, if he would embrace this unexpected presence in their lives, or if his pride and stubbornness would cast her away. "She can help with the ranch," Emily said, her voice firmer now. "And she can teach us things, Dad. We've learned so much from her already. She's special." Jake exhaled slowly, a mix of apprehension and curiosity settling over him like the morning fog. He glanced at the rugged terrain, the wide-open fields, and the lonely house that had been his fortress for so many years. Perhaps it was time for change. Perhaps it was time to let someone in who could transform the ordinary into something extraordinary. Aylin stepped closer, her gaze never leaving his. "I am grateful for your daughters," she said softly, her voice melodic yet firm. "They showed me kindness when I needed it, and I wish to help if you will allow it." Jake nodded slowly, unsure of what compelled him to do so, but something deep inside him whispered that this was the start of something he could not yet comprehend, a turning point in his solitary existence. He gestured toward the ranch, toward the land that had been both his sanctuary and his cage. "All right, Aylin," he said gruffly, yet with a hint of invitation. "Let's see what you can do." Aylin's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile, and for the first time in years, Jake felt a flicker of anticipation, a spark of life that had lain dormant in the quiet stretches of his days. Little did he know, her arrival would change everything, the way he saw the world, the way his daughters saw love and loyalty, and the way the very land around them seemed to pulse with new energy. And so the lone cowboy's life began to intertwine with the life of the woman who carried both mystery and fire. And with each passing day, the boundaries of their hearts would be tested, reshaped, and ultimately united by forces neither of them could have anticipated. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its golden warmth over the rugged landscape, Jake led Aylin toward the barn, showing her the horses, the fences, the tools that had been extensions of his own hands. She moved with quiet confidence, touching the animals as if she understood them, listening to his instructions with respect and insight that surprised him at every turn. Emily and Clara lingered nearby, their faces alight with joy and hope, sensing that their decision to bring Aylin into their home was not just an act of friendship, but the beginning of a profound transformation. The air seemed charged with possibility, and for the first time in decades, Jake felt that his solitary heart might be ready to beat in rhythm with another, ready to welcome not just the presence of a remarkable woman, but the changes, challenges, and triumphs that she would inevitably bring into their lives. And though the path ahead was uncertain, filled with unspoken fears and untold stories, the lone cowboy's world was no longer lonely. It had been touched, irrevocably, by the spirit of a woman whose strength, beauty, and wisdom promised a future far richer than the solitary life he had known.